Hi, I've just returned from Japan. Incidentally, it was 22 degrees when I was there in Tokyo in the middle of February. Very strange. The week before it had been snowing. If you're anything like me, unseasonal weather makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, in this climate change era that we're in. You kind of worry about what's coming down the pipe. But besides that, the economy and economic conditions really is impactful for me. And I guess three things really struck me. One was just looking at our forecasts for next year. Japan is the only economy in Asia we have growing more quickly than its pre-pandemic average. And not just that, but also a lot more quickly than its pre-global financial crisis average. Everywhere else in the region, in fact, is slower, often materially slower than the pre-GFC numbers, but not Japan. It's gone the other way. I think that's quite a stark demonstration of how the economic momentum in Japan is quite different, and it's performing very differently as an economy. The second issue is climate change. It's a point of discussion everywhere. In Japan, the business sector being very front-footed in how they think about this, so probably less government-led than in other places that I've been, certainly in the region. Japan doesn't have access to the climate that some other places might have, doesn't have access to the land that some other places might have. So this climate orientation really is an external orientation. And the nature of Japanese industry, hard to abate, springs to mind, really focusing on the cutting edge of the climate technology space, particularly hydrogen, a large part of many conversations, particularly carbon capture and storage also. Those two features, and as I said, that real outward orientation really striking me and offering stark comparisons with what I see across the rest of the region. And the third issue is prices. Everyone talking about inflation. Everybody has anecdotes about prices that hadn't changed for 10 or 15 or 20 years that have started to move in the last couple of years. Not everybody agrees about whether it's sustainable or not, but certainly everyone agrees prices have been moving. From our perspective, there's enough in the Japanese economy, in the inflation data, in the wage numbers, which will see the Bank of Japan raise 10 basis points in April to move away from negative interest rates. Probably has, I think, a largely symbolic element rather than being, I guess, a rate hike that will materially change the trajectory. But I think as a symbol of Japan's economy really being a feature of the region, again, I think it's quite a stark. Let's not forget, Japan is a $5 trillion economy in the region, only eclipsed by China. Before China, we used to call it the Asian giant. I think going forwards, it is going to be a larger part of the discourse around the economic future of Asia.